We're talking with Dr. Ada Fisher from North Carolina.
Yep.
Correct?
Yes.
She's a committeeman there, and well, of course.
Yes.
It's so easy for me to say man all the time.
I know.
I'm just an old man. What do I know?
That's all right. I like men.
Me too sometimes. So, one of the things that, and you have said it before we turn the machine on here, that you don't say what people want you to say.
Right.
What is your feelings on why the GOP just cannot reach out to not just the African American community, but a lot of minority communities?
Well, I think that the GOP, I know that the GOP has the right issues. The problem is how we message those issues. And also the person we choose to be the messenger of those messages. You know, one of the things that I'm always saying is, when you look at ads on television, how many black faces do you see? How many candidates do you see with blacks on their staff? Now, it's interesting in Washington, D.C., there are actually more blacks on Republican staff proportionally than there are on Democratic staffs, which I just found fascinating because I would have never believed that. But I think one of the things that my message is, if you want people to vote for you, it's time you included people in what you're doing. We have to reflect America, and America is changing. One of the things that I keep telling Republicans, Democrats, and anybody that will listen, in 2012, for the first time in the United States history, we had more babies of color born than any place else. That means in 2030, if we don't incorporate these young folks in our parties, we will be outvoted by people who may not understand who we are, what we stand for. So if we want this, we've got to cultivate a message that says we are for capitalism, we are for republicanism, we are for democracy at its best. None of this stuff called redistribution of wealth, that's not capitalism, that's socialism 101. And that we need to define, why should people vote for us? I call it the Janet Jackson syndrome in my book, Common Sense Conservative Prescriptions, Solutions for What Ails Us. Janet Jackson sang a song, "What have you done for me lately?" And that's what American people want to know. What have you done for me lately? You can tell me all these kinds of things, but why should we believe you based on your track record? So we have to tell what our track record has been and to show the greatness of this party.
Well, I think the GOP is really starting to evolve away from the stodgy old big, party of big corporations, because we're getting a lot of libertarian and people of that bent into the party, and it is changing the party more into a common person's party, like it really should be.
I think I would say it's more of a grassroots party than a common person.
Okay.
I'm a little concerned, even as we evolve, that we really aren't touching the average man. And the activist has to demonstrate that he has a sense of the pulse of average Americans. I spent a lot of time in my state going to the mountains and to the East Coast. We know in North Carolina, for example, we have 100 counties. 85% of the population is in 20 counties. You can win an election and ignore 80% of the counties, and 80 counties rather. And I'm very much opposed to that. I want everybody to know who we are, and we want their vote.
Illinois has that problem too,
yeah,
with all the people in and around St. Louis and then up in Chicago.
Well, I used to live in Illinois.
Oh.
And I lived here from 89 to 96. I was the medical director of the Amical Oil Company. So I'm excited to be here for this convention. It's not really a convention, it's a conference. I'm excited to be here for that because it says to me, Illinois is a state we need to try to capture. California, Illinois, New York, Texas, Florida, those are large states for electoral votes, so
right.
We've got to do a better job in these states.
Right, definitely. Well, we had a very messy primary in Mississippi. What are your thoughts on what happened there with the some people, one side saying race baiting and the other side saying that there wasn't any?
Well, I think that people tried to turn out their vote, and I'm glad to see black folks vote.
Sure.
No matter where we are. In North Carolina, we have a rule similar, but not the same as Mississippi. And that says that if you're registered as an unaffiliated person, you can vote in either primary. And you can ask for either primary. In my county of Rowan County, what ended up happening is that Democrats switched to independents so they could vote in the Republican primaries, and it had an effect, but we still won. And that's called Politics 101. That's how you do it. There are two things that count in politics: money and votes. You got to have money to get your message out, but you also have to turn out your vote. And you go to people who never voted before and try to convince them to vote for you. That's the American way.
Well, what do you think about the method, though? Like I said, some people thought it was race baiting going on.
Well, I didn't see the ads. I can't comment one way or the other, but people have asked. I was surprised to see my name in American Spectator magazine saying that Dr. Fisher, black Republican woman, did X, Y, Z. All I said then, and all I've said to people all along, if you want something investigated, I'm willing to serve on a committee, but I don't think it needs to be investigated. The RNC is structured so that every state handles its own thing. It's not one of those things where the RNC sits here and they clamp down on the state. If the RNC came to North Carolina and told us what to do, I would tell them where to go.
Yeah, we wouldn't want that.
Yeah, no state wants that. So you have to be very careful. Each state has an apparatus in place to investigate things. And I hope that the people in Mississippi did what they were supposed to do. And if they didn't, I'm available if people want to discuss it. But it's Mississippi's job to solve whatever came out. I thought it was a great bit of... I just thought that the conversation has been interesting because people said they were trying to get black folks to vote. Well, hell, isn't that what we're trying to do?
Right.
So I'm glad that black folks voted for a Republican. Now, I tell people all the time, I'll take a Democratic vote, I'll take a Libertarian vote, I'll take anybody's vote who's going to vote for my candidates.
Fantastic. Well, tell us your book again before
my
we're
book
done
is
here.
called Common Sense. Hold on a minute. There it is, right there. Common Sense Conservative Prescriptions, Solutions for What Ails Us. But what if you read this, it'll tell you from any issue, from education on down, how we are constitutional and how we can solve these issues in a way that 80% of the people is likely to have buy-in. Now, if they want socialism, this book is not their answer. But if they want anything democratic, it is the answer. And what we also have in this is a brochure. I have 3 brochures that I did with a friend of mine. And these brochures to me are important because if you want people in the party, you got to show how important they've been. This is on blacks in the Republican Party. This one is on Hispanics in the Republican Party. This one is on Native Americans. And it tells you some interesting facts. Like, did you know who the first man of color was in the executive office of the United States? Everybody will tell you it's Barack Obama, and it's just not true. Charles Curtis was the 31st Vice President of the United States. He was a call Indian.
Yes, he was.
And it's time, and I talk about that in that brochure. There are some outstanding people who have done great things in the Republican Party, and we haven't told that story. People need to hear that story. This is a great party. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be in it.
Fantastic. Well, we were talking with Dr. Ada Fisher from North Carolina, and thanks very much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Beautiful.